Yeah, so good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody from across the globe. Welcome to the second ROTI speaker series. I would like to thank Flo and Leadership Fellowship for joining us. And we are having a joint meeting today. I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Martha, who has taken her time out from her busy schedule to join us and guide us on leadership. Welcome, Marty, and welcome, everybody. Uh, I would just like to say a few words about ROTI before handing it over to Flo to say a few words about the lead fellowship. Friends, ROTI or Rotarians on the Internet is a fellowship which was started in 1996. That's a 30-year-old fellowship, and it was much before even Rotary had been on the internet. And in fact, Rotary was one of the fellowships which has helped Rotary to be on the internet. Um, and so on, we have grown, and I am thankful to all my past chairmen who are sitting here with me, who have joined today. uh, Roti membership is totally free. Members can join. All you have to do is just go to www.rotifellowship.org and register, and it is totally free. And you can join a Rotary Fellowship and enjoy the benefits. We normally have a Facebook group, we have a YouTube, we have a uh, Google group where we do the discussions. Basically, this is how we move around. So I would just request anybody and everybody who's not a member as of ROTI. So please go to the website and register and join. So friends, thank you. Flo, over to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Vijay. I would share just a very few slides to introduce to you guys the Leadership Fellowship, because it's such a great idea to bring us all together and to join fellowships. So for us, it is the 30th online leadership meeting. So that's wonderful to have a round number for such a special meeting. And we're excited to have Marty Helman with us as the speaker. The meeting hygiene we've been going through, so I will just jump over that. We are almost 250 members from all generations, so we're happy to have Rotarians, Rotaractors, Interactors, and Rotecs, so former youth exchange students, with us. We have diverse backgrounds, which is great to bring leadership ideas together. And we have members from all continents except Antarctica. So if you know Rotarians from Antarctica, please invite them to join. We believe in a world where Rotarians, Rotaractors, and Friends of Rotary, so the fellowship is open for everyone, have the leadership skills and the knowledge to create positive change. This is what we all want as Rotarians, creating positive change. And if we can help create the leadership skills in us, that would be wonderful, both in our local and global communities. And there are 3 pillars that we're working on. That is education. So we have leadership development resources and learning opportunities. We connect, that's once a month with our online leadership meetings. And we try to empower everyone in order to have best practices and ideas on how to implement leadership in different settings, which may be similar across the globe. So if you want to join, here are 3 things that you can do with us. Number 1, Rob, if my slide's continuing. Yeah, the online leadership meetings, just like what we have today. It's always on the 3rd Saturday of the month, except for a special meeting like today. It's always at 5 p.m. Sometimes it's 5 p.m. Sydney, sometimes 5 p.m. Berlin, and sometimes 5 p.m. Los Angeles, so that it fits everyone's schedule. Then we have leadership retreats. We had one in Hawaii. We're planning on one for Taipei. So for everyone who's going to Taipei, if you're planning on doing some leadership, we'll keep you posted. And we have convention events. So many of us have met us at the last conventions. We always have breakout sessions over there, and we have our booth in the House of Friendship. So we'd be excited to have you with us. And if you are interested, please join us. I have the website on the next page. Just briefly for the agenda for today. So we will have the keynote presentation from Marty on a fascinating topic, which is so relevant in leadership questions and which may sometimes be overlooked because it's all about our intentions and how we present ourselves to others. So I'm very excited that we'll be hearing from you, Marty, about leadership and truth telling. Then we will have time for question and answers because in leadership questions, it's so often that we're not taught something, but that we share ideas and that we bring our thoughts together. So we'll have plenty of time for question and answers, and then we'll have a short wrap up. If you are interested in events from the Leadership Fellowship, our next dates are October 18th at 5 p.m. Sydney, the online leadership meeting with District Governor-elect May Monla, and then on November 15th, so it's always the third Saturday of the month, at 5 p.m. Berlin time, the online leadership meeting with Imi Julie from Uganda. So in the past, we've had people like those who are in here in the meeting. I've seen several of them. I've seen Mark, I've seen Patrick, I've seen Faisal. We had people like past Rotary International President-elect Mario, and also directors. So very interesting people with diverse backgrounds sharing their leadership ideas. And that brings me to, oh yeah, so number one, you're more than welcome to join us at RF Lead, Rotary Foundation, lead.org. But most importantly, that brings me towards our speaker for today. Because we're very happy to have Marty with us, who is one of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation. So in Rotary, we have people who serve in a way that benefits all of us around the globe. Of course, we all start in our clubs, we serve in our districts. Many of those who are in this meeting here are serving on a more than regional, even international level. And then we have the directors of Rotary International and we have the trustees who are serving on the global scale. And so it's always a privilege to hear from those who are working on this level. And Marty, of course, has all the merits to be nominated a trustee. What impressed me about her was when we met after the Melbourne Convention, you were so humble and approachable and not at all in a way that you would have a high position in Rotary and I would be just a simple Rotarian. And that's what I cherish a lot about our organization, that we have people who achieve tremendous things and who are serving a lot of their time for all of us and still don't make us feel like there are differences. They give us the feeling that we're on the same page and all in the same organization. So that's why it is a great privilege and a great honor to have you with us, Marty, today. I'm happy to hand the floor and the mic to you to talk to us a little bit about leadership and truth-telling.
Thank you so much, Flo. Thank you. I do have, before I start, I do have to respond to your very kind introduction. I started Rotary like everyone else did. A member of my club, in my case, it was 23 years ago, the Rotary Club of Boothbay Harbor, Maine. If any of you are in Mid-Coast Maine, please come and share with us. And the most important role that any of us can have is that of club member. I was my club president, then I was my district governor. Then I was invited to join an international committee and so on and so forth. But it all comes back to being a club member and to believing in Rotary and the mission that we can accomplish together. And no one is, we call them senior Rotary leaders, but we are all Rotary leaders. And I think that's very important to know. Now, to get started, when Flo invited me to speak, and he asked me something about my management style, and I told him that if there was any secret to my leadership style, it was that I always told the truth. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. But I do so with three confessions. The first is that before I said those words to Flo, I'd never really thought about truth telling as a leadership style. It's not something I work at. It's something that just is. And that may be because of the second confession, which is to say that I am really a lousy liar. I can't even tell a good joke. I never would have made a good dissembler. I never would have made a good liar. And so I suspect it's a good thing that I never tried to do so. And the third confession is that being a truth teller comes with a caveat. I'm always taken aback when someone tells me, and I will admit that it happens quite frequently, when someone tells me that I'm direct and to the point. I really don't know if this is a compliment or if it's a polite way that they're saying that I'm brusque and bordering on the impolite. I really haven't a clue. I'm just saying what it is, and it's up to others, of course, to interpret. I once asked my husband once if it was a plus or a minus, and I didn't understand his answer. Well, he didn't directly answer. What he said is that he always knew where I stood on any issue, and that he never had to guess, and that this trade made our married life together much easier to navigate. But I'm here to talk to you about leadership and truth telling, not about marital communications. Now, it's important to recognize that truth telling, at least for me, involves not only what is said, but how it is said. And this comes up with me a lot. I do speak a lot in Rotary venues, and sometimes I'll be sent talking points and asked to use them in the speech. Sometimes a Rotary staffer who thinks she or he is being helpful will volunteer to send me talking points. Sometimes I'm invited to be a president's rep or to speak at an institute as the trustee's chair rep. And it certainly makes sense that the president or the chair wants to make sure that I cover all the bases and therefore would send me talking points. It certainly makes sense that the staff person is working to ensure I get the story right, or maybe is just trying to save me legwork. The problem isn't the talking points. The problem isn't what they contain. The problem is that, as I see it, these talking points are by definition extremely general. And this means that they represent pablum, they represent breakfast cereal more than they represent spice. Frankly, I don't want to stand at a podium and share breakfast cereal any more than I expect the audience wants to listen to it. But if the trustee chair or the RI president has sent me talking points, aren't I honor bound to follow them? Well, maybe. My solution has always been to skim through those talking points to make sure that I speak to all the general topics that are expected of me, and then riff off from there and do my own thing. And as long as the speech is well received, at least to date, nobody has complained that I haven't followed instructions. We'll see what that gets me in the future. And this is probably a good time to talk about the difference between truth is and truth as. Truth is what is. Truth as has to do with our perceptions of what is. So, for example, there are 24 hours of the day, 365 days a year, the only exception being leap year. Yet time moves so slowly when we are children and then speeds up increasingly as we age. I read somewhere that a child conceives the amount of time spent between age 4 and age 14 the same as his older self conceives the amount of time between age 14 and age 40. The earth isn't spinning any faster. It's our perception, it's truth as, that makes all the difference. So if you think about it, the church forced Galileo to recant truth is in favor of truth as, because a heliocentric universe upset canonized ideas about the place of the Christian God in the universe. I won't come up with any ripped from the headline political examples from my own country. That's too easy. I'll leave that to do yourself. But the point I want to convey is that truth as is the correct truth. Sometimes truth as can be the correct truth for a leader to convey. Sometimes, not always. And not just in terms of leadership, in terms of our daily life. All our mothers, I hope, taught us when to employ the social lie. Thank you, Auntie, for the lovely scarf. I just can't wait to wear it not. That's truth as. That's the social lie, and it's sometimes the right thing to say. So let's dig a little deeper into truth as. For example, when the Board of Trustees meet, we can take on quite spirited discussions, polite, but spirited. This shouldn't come as a surprise since we are all passionate about the Rotary Foundation and we want to make sure we get it right. And yet we come from many different cultures around the world, which means we come to the table with different perspectives and priorities. Discussion is great. Discussion is essential. But once the vote is taken, it behooves all of us to get in line and speak favorably about whatever it is that was decided, no matter our personal opinion, no matter how we personally voted. Now, this is usually fairly easy because there are usually good arguments on the winning side of the issue, even if they're not our side of the issue, usually. But it can also be quite aggravating since, in my case, those winning arguments may resonate better with Rotarians from another culture than they do with North Americans. And of course, because I'm from North America, it's typically North Americans who are quizzing me about the decision because they are upset about it. I'm going to share an example of what I mean from a decision that was made this summer by the directors. Now, this is not a trustee issue. I didn't have to vote on it. It's not in my wheelhouse. But that, of course, has not stopped Rotarians from across North America for complaining to me about the decision, about the outcome that they disagree with. I'm speaking about the board decision that the 2027 International Convention will be held in Dubai. Concerns have been raised by some North Americans that have to do with LGBTQ issues in the UAE, as well as with women's empowerment. I've heard from women concerned that they would have to wear a headscarf 24/7 in Dubai. I've heard from both men and women concerned that anyone who goes to the convention and presents himself other than cisgendered would be in danger of arrest. Now, I've never been to Dubai. I accept both the word of people I know who have been there and from the Rotary organizers of the International Convention, as well as my experience in other modern Muslim nations, that tourism is a good thing, that tolerance is the norm, and that these concerns are really North American misinformation or lack of information more than anything else. That kind of rationale, however, fails to show the slow comments that come up on social media. And it does nothing for those commentators who believe that the directors are failing to live our Rotarian values by approving an international convention in a nation that, from their perspective, does not honor human rights. Again, I wasn't in the room when the discussion took place, but I don't have to be in the room to have strong feelings myself, both about pride issues and also about women's issues. The problem as I see it and where it comes in at truth is versus truth as is that most of the comments we read on social media deal in any discussion deal with only half the picture. So let me point out a few other truths that are seldom mentioned that have to do with Dubai as a place for the International Convention. First, we're a global organization. We proudly count 190 countries in our membership and all continents in our membership, as seen here on this call today. Yet, to my working memory, Rotary has never cited an international convention east of Western Europe and west of Bangkok. Now, last time I checked a globe, that's about a third of the world. And I would point out that inclusivity counts when it comes to geography as well as to everything else. Second, that whether North Americans like it or not, many Rotarians from the subcontinent, from Africa, from parts of Asia, live in societies where both pride and women's empowerment are not as strongly discussed as they are in North America. We may not like that, we may not agree with that, but again, as members of a global organization, shouldn't we at least spend a few days attempting to learn more about these cultures and what they are really like? And third, and this is something where I think North Americans are particularly ignorant, it's difficult, and I don't have to tell the people on this call, increasingly more so, from Rotarians from Muslim nations and the Global South to obtain visas to come to the United States, and yet 3 of our 6 upcoming international conventions will be held in my country. So isn't it time we had an international convention in a place that's more welcoming to Rotarians from the Global South than the United States is these days? Having said all that, in all honesty, in all truth-telling, would I have voted in favor of Dubai if I were serving on the board of directors last year? Truthfully, I don't know. But I do know that truth as too often means that we see only the side that supports our own viewpoint. Truth is requires us to step into others' shoes and more carefully evaluate both sides of any discussion. So that's what I wanted to say about truth-telling and leadership. And I'd like to leave you with a quote from Mark Twain, the American humorist. He said that you should always do the right thing because it will gratify some people and astonish the rest. And I leave you that plus another Mark Twain recommendation. He said, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Clearly, life is complicated enough as it is without having to remember lies. So I thank you for your time and attention, and I look forward to a little discussion, hopefully not about Dubai. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Marty. And I loved both the insight that you had and the way you presented it with a very happy atmosphere, even those topics that can be very heated or very difficult, which I guess in the world today we're sometimes very harsh in the words that we use. And so it's great to hear from you a perspective on things that may be difficult to understand for many of us, but that shouldn't be a reason to argue against each other, but to find solutions with each other. And so I also very much enjoyed the differentiation between truth is and truth as, because I think it can help us in many situations to find compromise and to find the common ground. Yeah, and I had a few more great ideas which I noted down, but the idea is to bring together all kinds of perspectives. And so, yeah, everyone, please feel free to raise your hand, just as Dr. Dafer already did. Then we can call you up. And the great thing is also if we can keep our questions short enough that we can have a lot of discussions and talks and different perspectives that we can hear. So that's wonderful. Dr. Dafer, do you want to start the question and answer?
Yes, thank you very much. Let me first start by thanking our dear Marty Helman for a wonderful presentation. I know it is short but concise to the point, so it made it clear to us the direction she was going through. I just want to, I wanted to agree with you what you have mentioned before about whatever we do, we have to do positive change. Unless we do positive change in our clubs, nothing will improve. And if even the truth is important, but what matters to me, the way I look at it, that we need to have to involve in it, we need to have under leadership and truth, we need to have good ethics. The problem is, if we don't have ethics, we will not tell the truth. We will not be able to be truthful. We have to be, we have to care about others. We have to feel with others. I agree with Marty that we need to understand each other more and appreciate each other. And this is really something that makes us successful in Rotary. Rotary clubs have to understand that we are all one family. We work together, and we have to survive together, and we have to share the pot together. We have to make sure that whatever we do, everybody has a stake in the success of his club. And that's why always I agree with Marty, to tell the truth is the best way to survive. Thank you very much, Marty.
A request to everybody to kindly keep it short, please. Yes, Flo, back to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Dafer. And that totally mirrors what Marty said. Do you want to react to it, Marty? Or otherwise,
No,
we can
I
get to the
certainly
next
agree
one.
with what Dr. Dafer said, and I think that we are so unique in that we are from 190 countries and that many cultures around the world, and we all come together on a common stage. And that means that almost by definition, compromise is required. But I think that's a good thing because we only have one planet and we're all living in it together. We can do things because we're business people and not governments that governments cannot do. And polio is an example of that. So Days of Tranquility is a example of that, where we find a greater good than our national or cultural needs, and we work toward that goal. And it's something that is the secret sauce of Rotary.
That's true, and it's so great to see that here. Mark, you have raised your hand.
Marty, you're well known for your advocacy for peace. Do you see a link between peace and the environment Rotary's seventh area of focus?
Oh, absolutely. They're inextricably linked. We can't have. We're already having wars over lack of water, for example, over lack of resources. In the USA, we're seeing illegal immigration from folks in Latin America who can't farm the land anymore because of desertification, and so their only option is to come into the U.S. and Canada, and of course do so illegally. We're already having strife because of environment, and the even bigger issue than that is, as I said before, we've only got one planet. We have to figure out how to share it, and that comes right back to environmental issues. So yes, peace and environment to me are absolutely linked.
If I could ask one more slight question, could you comment on Rotary's role in advocacy for the environment?
Well, we are not a political organization, for better and for worse. Again, being honest, and I think it's more better than worse. But occasionally, we wish that we do have friends in Washington and in other governments around the world. You can see that in the actions that we're able to take. Sometimes, and again, I'm talking about my own country right now. Sometimes it's best to lay low and not make the headlines, and we can probably get more accomplished that way. And we also have to think in terms of the long term.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, we'll just pass it on because I see lots of hands going up. Again, the invitation, everyone. If you have a question, put up your hand. That's great. Miranda, great to see you from Taiwan.
Hi, everybody. I will hope to see you in person in Taiwan next year. And this is Miranda. I'm from the LEAD community, and this topic is especially touching for me because I've been talking to some members at LEAD about how can we actually leverage Rotary as a very fruitful place for us to help all members to have better understanding about people coming from different cultures, so then we can collaborate better and use Rotarians' influence to enhance that. So thank you again, Marty, to mention about those humanity and inclusiveness. And I wonder from your take, so Rotary is a very well-connected international organization, but if we think about we want to do some pilots, like small pilots, to do some, learning and things that we can do together. So we learn from the pilots what is actionable structure or learning ways to help people coming from different cultures to know each other better. How would you suggest, very high levelly, or you have some concrete ideas for this kind of pilots? How can we run? Because it's so diverse here. So having pilot is reasonable, but how does that make sense between different clubs or clubs between different countries? I'm not, and if I don't express myself clear enough, please let me know as well.
Yeah, Miranda, thank you. One of Rotary's strengths is that everything starts at the club level. Even Polio Plus started with 2 clubs in the Philippines. So when you say pilots, I'm a bit confused because you're in Taiwan.
Yes.
Get your idea together and do it. If you need a club from another country, we have so many different ways to reach out to different countries, starting with this meeting right here, including if you something more formal, the ICCs, the inter-country communities. Every time we have a global grant, we get a friend from a club in a different culture, and make it work. I mean, create your own pilot, make it work. That's how everything in Rotary has started. That's how Rotex started. That's how Interact started. That's how grant making started, and that's how Polio Plus started. So do not make the mistake of waiting for Evanston to do something in Rotary.
Of course.
That's a terrible mistake to make. Do not make the mistake of saying, well, we need something and therefore let's do it on a global scale. Just do it. India is a wonderful example of a Rotary, a region in Rotary that has taken on things at the national level, just by getting their trustees and their directors together and at institutes and making it happen. I'm thinking of the Happy School program, which is the idea that every school in India should have certain standards in academics and in hygiene and so forth. Any club that wants to work with any school can do so under the rubric of the Happy School program. So it's not a formal program, and yet it's changing academics at the primary level in India in a substantial way. So just like Nike, I say, just do it.
Thank you. Thank you. And may I reach to you for further questions if I have on the way? Or yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Wonderful. So the next one, roll up your sleeves, just ask. Faisal.
Yeah, there was some technical difficulties there, apparently. Only one person or two people can be unmuted. Anyway, my question is that you talk about truth telling and in leadership, but in many cultures, there's a certain way that you have to tell the truth, because it might be perceived as rudeness or and maybe being too negative. So do you see challenges in your approach to truth telling and when you talk to people from different cultures, especially in Rotary and these assemblies? I'm sure there's many people from different parts of the world. And is there like a different way you approach people from, and when you tell the truth or something like that?
You're right, Faisal. I spoke as a North American, and I probably come across as remarkably American and remarkably blunt to many people, perhaps including North American men. I'm old enough that I grew up in corporate America and was in positions where women were not. And just the fact that my voice was alto and not bass was in a discussion was remarkable. It was, I mean, it could be remarked upon at the time. The answer to your question is yes, of course. The other answer to your question is we have to be true to ourselves. So yes, I need to be respectful of whatever culture it is I'm talking with or I'm visiting. But I also need that same respect back to me. I frankly think that that many other cultures are remarkably generous to Americans. Maybe the assumption is that we're pretty ignorant of cross-cultural matters. But I thank everyone on this call who has ever put up with a North American or an American and dealt with something that was perceived as less polite than it should have been.
All right, thank you.
And maybe vice versa. I think many of us have stepped on other toes when traveling or when being in touch with foreigners, knowingly or not knowingly. Troy, it's great to see your hand up.
There we go. I was trying to unmute. Hello, good morning. I'm Troy from District 5495 in Arizona, USA. So thank you. Marty, the one question I had for you was, have you heard of the book Radical Candor by Kim Scott?
No, I have not.
Okay, it's about being brutal, like just honest within the workplace and about having care in the same way. And so I was referred that book recently, and I was just curious if you had any thoughts about the book itself, because it talks about how when you're honest in the workplace, it only helps everyone grow and succeed and be successful, but when you're not. And so I don't know if you like to read, but I wanted to offer that to you, and I was going to read it myself, so I can't.
I do like to read, Troy. Please put the info in the chat, and I will find it, the book, and maybe other people will as well.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here.
That's great. And so we also get reading insights for everyone who wants to follow up. Natalia, you have a question or a comment?
Yes, right. I wonder, what do you think about my comment that this trait, truthful, in terms of project implementations, it never goes alone. It goes together with, for example, such a trait as flexibility, which means informing other Rotarians about how circumstances changed. Then another trait is cooperative, which means informing that you have done something or you are still doing something. Also tactful, to keep our fellow Rotarians' feelings. Do you think truthful shines brighter if it is followed together with flexibility, cooperation, and tactfulness?
Oh my goodness, Natalia, that you're covering a lot of bases there. First, let me say that your country, your nation is teaching all the rest of us lessons, not only in courage, but also humility. And our hearts go out to you. I wish my country were on the correct side of history. That's about as honest as I can get in that subject, and keep the faith. In terms of your question, I think all of those are probably part of honesty. And I think that whenever we deviate from thinking about I could have done an entire talk, I suspect, on how to stand in the other person's shoes. And that's what you're talking about now. And if we don't do that, we'll only have misunderstanding. We'll only have confusion. So I totally agree with you that truth telling involves cultural understanding, as well as I did say, it's not only what we say, it's how we say it. So thank you for that comment.
That's great. And yeah, it's great to have these different perspectives. Patrick, you also have a question.
Yes, I'm a North American as well by birth, but I've lived in Africa now for 40 years. And I've learned a few things about living in a different culture, and that is, truth is, well, sometimes relative. I've eaten things that I would not have ever eaten had I lived in the United States. And I've learned a few other things. It's possible for us to disagree agreeably. I mean, I remember the days when politicians from different parties would talk to each other, play golf with each other. They would go on family picnics with other politicians from another party. So I guess the question is there a truth that I think I know the answer. Is there a truth that is actual truth, Marty, where no one can dispute it? I mean, I have a few ideas, but we need to be careful how dogmatic we are as far as truth. Is there a truth? A truth? The truth?
We live in a world of IA. We live in a world in which even the picture can not necessarily tell the story. And we certainly live in a world in which politicians are not the only people who have a microphone who are lying to us. I think what you ask is going to become increasingly critical as we move into a future. And I don't know where it's going to end. I was reading just this morning one American commentator's belief that the reason that the Trump administration is sending the U.S. Army and U.S. National Guard into American cities is so that at the time of the next election, it'll be easier to just hoist off the ballot boxes and walk off with them. I don't know. But I do know that we're at a critical point in which how we perceive the truth is going to change the future of the world.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few years ahead of us, and I'm looking forward to going to Dubai for the convention, because when I go to conventions, it's usually 4 flights, because you can't go anywhere from Zambia. You have to go someplace else first. And it took 6 flights to get to Calgary. And it was 40 hours. To Dubai, it's 1 flight, because we can pick up Emirates in Lusaka and be there in a few hours. I'm looking forward to going to a convention that doesn't require more than 1 flight, or 2, or even 3. So I'll see everybody in Dubai.
I think there's a lot of that on this call. Thank you, Patrick.
Yeah, I think so.
And to your question, I feel that this group, or at least for me, having these meetings now over several months and meeting people from all kinds of places of this globe has given me a better understanding of what Rotary is like in all these parts of the world, of how people look at issues. And I feel it's so valuable for us to have this exchange with each other. So yeah, I very much liked your question, Patrick. And I do have 2 questions up on my sheet, but so if there are no hands up, I would ask them. But it's great to see you guys with questions. So Dr. Dafer, you have another one, and then Dietmar.
Thank you. This is my last question. Marty, thank you again. But I just want to say that actually, let me give you some background. I worked in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as an ambassador for many years, let's say 40 years. But one of the things that my colleagues didn't like me, because I used to make it to the point. I used to tell the truth, which you are talking about, and I didn't care who likes me and who doesn't like me, because I would feel good that I am doing the right thing. The people I trained were trained this way, and ambassadors, sometimes they don't have to tell the truth because they are ambassadors. They have to be diplomatic, and when you are diplomatic, sometimes you muddle through. But in my work, I always tell the truth, and I taught my kids who I trained to tell the truth. They all were young diplomats, and they became ambassadors and all that thing. But I'm saying that the truth never falls back. Always, if you want to feel good about yourself, make sure that people know what you think. If you tell the truth, you are telling people what you really believe in. And if people don't know what's behind what you're believing, this is, I call, double standard. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you, my father had a compass point that was ramrod straight. He never deviated from what he felt was the right thing to do. It sometimes got him into trouble with the outside world, but he always did what was right. And whenever I'm in a tight space, I think about what my father's reaction would be, and I know what the right thing is to do. Now, I wish I could tell you I always did it, but at least when I think about my dad, I know what I should be doing. And I'm very much aware of how fortunate I am to have had that lesson in my life.
That's wonderful with role models. Dietmar, I guess this will be probably the last question, then we can wrap up to make sure that we're staying within the hour. So yeah, happy to hand over to you.
Okay, yes, thank you, Marty. Great speech. So I think a very good possibility to know other countries and to understand other countries is the global grants. This is a very good opportunity. You get in touch with other people in a very personal way for a certain time for the project. You may become friends and you have the chance to ask them about their country and about how they see the country. You have the opportunity to ask the magic question, help me to understand why it is like this and this. And so you can get a deep insight in another country. And this is wonderful. And this is outstanding for me in Rotary. Thank you.
Dietmar, you are absolutely correct. It's one of the hidden joys of Rotary. As an American, I have had the privilege of being a house guest in Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu households. How many Americans can say that? I have not only met people, I've been their guest in their homes as they've shown me their city and their country. And this is not unique. This is something we take for granted as Americans. All you have to do is get involved in a global grant. All you have to do is go on a friendship exchange. All you have to do is make a friend through an international convention or through an organization, a program such as this, and you're in, right? And the result is that Rotarians from around the world, from all of our 190 countries, have a much more international viewpoint, I think, than the world at writ large. I always remember it was in Berlin. It was in 2012 at Christmas time. President Sakuji Tanaka threw a peace conference in Berlin, also in Hiroshima and in Honolulu. And there was a young woman on stage in Berlin. She was a German Rotex. She'd been in Australia for a year. And of course, while she was in Australia, she'd met Rotary Exchange students from all around the globe who were also in Australia. And she said, as part of her speech, she said that it used to be that when she heard about whatever flooding in Bangladesh or an earthquake in Turkey, that she thought, oh dear, isn't that awful? Now, when she heard about a crisis in the other part of the world, she thought, I wonder if Maria is okay. I wonder if Pablo's family is safe. And her reaction was much, much more personal than it had been before. And, you know, if Rotary, that's only one small part of Rotary. And yet, what a fabulous, fabulous thing we are doing for the future of the world in giving our young leaders those kinds of opportunities.
That's so true, so powerful, and so hopeful. Anil, if that's a very short question, then I'm happy to hand it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marty, what you spoke is absolutely perfect and absolutely good. I just want to know, how would you rate transparency versus truth?
How would I rate transparency versus truth? Well, that goes back to truth is versus truth as again. I mean, in an ideal world, transparency is truth. In the not quite so ideal world that we live in, we sometimes have to talk about truth as. So I'm not going to tell you how I voted about something on the trustees. I will tell you what the decision was and why it was a good decision. Right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
I love that, and this is the one of the big takeaways that I'm taking from your presentation, Marty, is this idea that if we want to stand, just like you said, with the decision of our group, let's say the board of trustees or maybe our board in the club, if we haven't been agreeing with it, then probably our home base will also not be agreeing with it. So we'll have to convince them of something that we may not fully stand behind. And at the same time, it's important that we keep up this idea of a joint. That's how we take decisions. That's how we make compromises. We have to defend those compromises in our own home group. And that's maybe one of the big advantages that we can have as people who want to be leaders, that we take on this challenge. Because it's so easy to always say, I disagree with that. I didn't want that, but they didn't listen to me. Or saying, you know what, we're in a group together and some things we will do that may not be our first priority, but being together is the big priority. And so we have some steps in this direction, some steps in this direction. So thank you. Mhm.
I would just say one more thing, that if something peculiar, from your perspective, something peculiar is decided in Rotary, just something absolutely bizarre from your perspective, think about the International of Rotary and it will probably make sense. That's what the COL, that's what being in the COL has taught me. And for those of you who've been on the COL, I suspect you've had some learnings there as well. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, for speaking so openly to us, for sharing those insights on a topic that is so relevant nowadays. So yeah, I very much enjoyed listening to you. And then I'm handing over the mic to the chair of the ROTI Fellowship, Vijay,
Thank you so much. And I'm gonna sign off now because I have another obligation. It's been a pleasure to be with you, and I really appreciated all your incredibly honest questions. So thank you so much for the discussion.
Thanks so much. Vijay, I'm handing over to you.
Thanks, Flo, and it was a very good session. I thank you all. I thank Marty for such a wonderful talk, and we had a good questionnaire session. I would now request our past chair Madhu to propose a vote of thanks, please.
Thank you so much, Chair Vijay. Greetings, everyone. I am Madhu Vishnu, past chair of ROTI between 2017 to 2019. And I'm past president of E-Club of Melbourne, District 9800, Australia. I live in Calcutta, eastern part of India. I thank Marty, our speaker. It was a very, very enlightening topic, and it just helped me to be glued to, listening to her every word she said. And I'm very thankful to Flo for anchoring the session. And for others, Flo and I, we had been part of Rotaract pre-convention earlier. So we've been knowing each other since many years now. And I do the breakout session in International Convention Fellowship Hidden Gems. And so, Roti had been represented earlier by some of the past chairs to be panelists. And I really think that, Roti is a very, very popular fellowship. And I invite those of you who are here, not a member, to please join as soon as possible. And I thank each one of you today for being a part of this wonderful session, and each one of us enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends, and thank you, Madhu.